All right, welcome on into the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. Charlie Turner, John Restino, Chris DiCarlo, all here with you as usual on this Memorial Day weekend, guys. As it's a 3-day weekend. It's a long weekend. We're going to be doing some grilling, some cooking out. But, as they say, just remember what you're doing it for, why you have that long weekend. It's for the men and women. They made the ultimate sacrifice for this country, man. We respect the hell out of all of them, both living and those that have passed away. And that's the reason for the Memorial Day celebration. And, so we just give them a ton of love for what they've done for this country. But, guys,
That
it's
is right.
beautiful weather and it looks to be a great weekend here in Western New York. Of course, we're always talking some old school wrestling. Our guest today also runs a old school wrestling podcast focused in the Memphis territories. It is the Wrestling with Mayor McCALL podcast, and we are pleased to have him on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast as we kind of join forces here as we welcome in the mayor himself, Mayor McCALL. Mr. Mayor, if I could, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. How's it going, man?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks for what you said about the fallen heroes and remembering everybody on Memorial Day. Actually, my co-host Willie B, he's a great guy. He left both of his legs in Iraq in '05, so he's given everything for this country, and he's an inspiration to everyone. He's one of the toughest dudes I know. He keeps on going. He doesn't let anything affect him. So, let me give a shout out to my awesome co-host Willie B, and thank you for everything you've done, man.
That's great.
100%.
Thank you indeed.
Absolutely. We could do an entire show on what the veterans in this country absolutely deserve and don't get. That, man, we could go in a whole other direction on that, but we'll keep it with wrestling for today. But yeah, very, very good words there, Mayor McCALL, because yeah, we respect each and every one of them living and that have passed on for what the sacrifices they've made for this country. So very, very grateful for that. And best country in the world, guys. I know this country has its problems, but it's still the best country in the world, So, but again, guys, as we talk some pro wrestling, what's more American than that, right?
Yeah.
Talking some professional wrestling, some wrestling from back in the day. But Mayor, I wanted to ask you first and foremost, sir, as far as getting into the podcast industry and the success that your show has enjoyed, what made you want to get into it? And where did you start and where are you at now as far as where the podcast stands?
One day, quite a few months ago, I received a phone call from one of my oldest buddies in the world since junior high. His name is Matt Mills, and he said, "Man, have you ever thought about starting a podcast?" I said, "No, man. What would I talk about?" And he was like, "Man, the thing you love most, man, wrestling." And I don't know. I can't say for sure if it was the day after or the very next day or the day after. I just woke up one morning and I was like, "Hey, life is short. You got one life to live." And I've never looked back since then. I got it in my head. I was going to start a podcast on old school wrestling. So Memphis wrestling, if it taught me anything, it's if you want to get started, you acquire the services of a great manager. So I made a few phone calls, and lo and behold, I got hooked up with Downtown Bruno, aka Harvey Wimpleman, who's actually, if you look him up, top 25 WWE managers of all time. On some lists, he's number 18. Some lists, he's number 21. So he, big props and thanks to Downtown Bruno. He got me on the map, and he got people, looking at the mayor. So thank you, Downtown Bruno. So
I'd love to talk to him and ask him why Howard Finkel always had a beef with him, it seemed like, but it never got resolved in the ring,
Yeah, we could have a lot of fun with a lot of those guys. I mean, that's what we're about. We're about we I know you concentrate on Memphis right now, Mayor McCALL, John. But that's what I was going to ask you. We cross all territories here. And, is that what you're going to do eventually? Talk about everything or just stick mainly on Memphis?
Well, that's a great question, Chris. The project started off with what I love and what I know. I'm in North Mississippi. I grew up right here in South Haven, Mississippi, which if you don't know, it's a suburb right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. I'm about 10 minutes south from Memphis. And actually, when I go to work every day, I'm about 3 minutes from the Mid-South Coliseum.
Oh,
So
cool.
this is, and this all started when I was around 8 years old. I've been taking pictures with Jerry the King Lawler since I've been 8 years old. I've probably taken over 20 pictures with the King. I've had numerous interactions with him along with the rest of the boys. So this is what I know, and this is what I love, and I've got to meet a lot of these guys and experience. So that's been my passion, and being around it so long, I have personal stories and personal interactions, and that's kind of the direction I went with this.
Yeah, the man that you bring up, Jerry the King Lawler, who, over the years I've gained more and more respect for as I've seen more of his history. Um, a lot of it came from, for me personally, doing this show, and also from have you had a chance to check out the Tales from the Territories documentaries? They did do a show on Memphis, and I thought it was fantastic how they highlighted Jerry Lawler's career and, of course, the whole Andy Kaufman thing. Did you get a chance to check any of that out?
Absolutely. Those are fascinating stories as well, because they joke, and I guess that's the name from my podcast kind of stems to Wrestling Talk with Mayor McCall. Down here in the South, they called it wrestling, and they talk about when wrestling was real.
Right.
In the heyday down here, you could not tell these folks that wrestling was not real. And if you listen to my shows, or you hear any of the stories from the boys in the territory, there's been some instances and situations where they didn't think they were going to escape with their lives.
Right.
And that's no kayfabe, or have you not. That's situations hit with bottles, burned with cigarettes, spit on, windshields broken, tires slashed. I mean, people, and I've got some. I'm 42, and so I wasn't at the Coliseum for the heydays, but I've got plenty of buddies around here that are older than me, that have. And I was just talking to one of my buddies a couple weeks ago. He's 57, and he attended many matches at the Mid-South Coliseum, and he was telling me what a rough environment that it could be, and people that didn't go have no idea. He said, man, he said, you mix some Southern people with some of that beer they were selling at the Mid-South Coliseum, and you put a fan in there that cheers for the bad guy, and the other guy's cheering for the face. He said, man, some things really boiled over at the Mid-South Coliseum. So people take their wrestling very, very seriously down here in the South, and especially in the old Memphis territory.
Yeah, there was that story. If I had this correct, I'm kind of paraphrasing the story here, but Jerry Lawler I believe it was Jerry Lawler. It could have been somebody else from that territory, but he had gone out to his car, and there was somebody waiting for him, and he ended up almost having to run somebody over with his car. I believe that was Jerry Lawler, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't say for quite certain, but there are so many situations along those same lines where the boys would have to do things like that, and they would really have to get out of there. They really would.
Speaking of that, real quick, guys, let's. I know, John, you're going to remember this. Obviously, an angle where it was 1988 behind the studio there, Channel 5, where they did the show that Eddie Gilbert hit Jerry Lawler in a parking lot.
Absolutely. We actually talked about that with Downtown Bruno on the first episode. And what was funny about that, if you go back and watch that footage, Eddie Gilbert was a wrestler, great performer, hot stuff. Eddie Gilbert, one of the greatest of all times. But at the same time, Eddie Gilbert was not a stunt driver. Eddie was driving too fast in that car. If you go back and watch that tape, and King took a hell of a bump on that. I can't believe that the way that panned out. And actually, for those that don't know, the police came to the Memphis police came to the studio that day. It was such a big deal. Somebody had phoned in the police, and the angle had to change just slightly because Lawler was actually not going to go back in the studio that day. They were going to sell it a little bit more. But after the police came, they had to kind of convince the police that, hey, we're taping a wrestling show here. Nobody's really getting run over in the parking lot. So that angle changed slightly at the end when the Memphis police came.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. And let me ask you this too. I mean, with the way wrestling is now, it's kind of hard to keep that kayfabe intact because of like the internet and like the dirt sheets and all that stuff. Do you feel like social media has kind of ruined that aspect of wrestling, where it took that aspect of it out, where you're just kind of like watching it like, holy cow, what just happened there? And then you're kind of left hanging for a full week until the next episode, where now you can just jump on the internet after a show and figure out what's going on. And by the end of the night, you have it all, all the information you need to know that it's real or not. Do you feel like that's kind of ruined wrestling in a way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You didn't, back in the territory days and back in the earlier days in wrestling, like to reiterate what you said, you didn't have the internet. You didn't have all these dirt sheets. You didn't have all the social media to tell you exactly what was going on. And back then they could blur the lines. You didn't know what was a shoot, what was a work, anything like that. I
Right.
mean, and if you look at some of these guys and do some research and talk to them. I mean, back in that day, the motto was protect the business at any cost, keeping kayfabe alive. There, just for example, we interviewed legendary Memphis referee Jerry Calhoun a couple weeks ago, and you could get fired just for having a face and heel, riding your car together. That was a
Wow.
situation where they were leaving the Mid South Coliseum one night, and actually Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and a guy named Mike Stark, one was a face and one was a heel, were riding together, and he got fired from the territory for a brief time because
Wow.
some people at at a stoplight, saw him, and they're like looked over like, hey, why would Paul and Mike be riding together? That doesn't make
Right.
any sense. And just like, it's not Memphis based, but you can remember the old story of Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Iron Sheik riding together.
Yeah.
We won't get
Yeah.
into everything they were doing on that ride, but that's publicly available. But that was a no-no. You didn't have the American hero riding with your big enemy, the Iron Sheik. That stuff like that was not tolerated. So yeah, it's definitely changed the business. I mean, and another example, if I can give too, is
Mhm.
Brian Christopher being the son of Jerry Lawler. That wasn't all. Think about that today. That would be all over the internet. That angle would go away in just a few short days. The
Right.
word would be out. The cat would be out of the bag, so to speak. But back then they were able to play it off so well that you didn't know, and we would take up for the situation like, no, that's not Jerry's son. You don't know what you're talking about, But
Right.
look if that would have panned out today. I mean, that wouldn't have, like I said, that wouldn't have lasted but a few days. So
Yeah, and when you say that, it reminds me. I just watched a clip recently, within the last few days, of Mark Calloway, The Undertaker, where he stated at this point, because he's pulled the curtain back on everything through social media, through the documentaries that have aired, like stuff that's done now that wasn't done back in the day. He said he's kind of done with the Dead Man character because him coming out and that mystique, just it's kind of gone because he's kind of pulled the curtain back on everything. I agree with you. It's just this day and age, you can't really keep that a secret like you used to back in the day, and that kind of ruins it. Because back, we talked on this show about the old magazines where, if you didn't get a chance to watch a territory, you can peel open one of those magazines at the supermarket, see who's ranked where, and all that stuff. And it was so fascinating because you never really saw these guys, but you read about them, and you couldn't have the luxury of the internet to be able to do that back then.
and to
So I,
piggyback on
I
that
think it's
is
kind of ruined that.
I'm sorry, to piggyback on that as well,
Hmm.
when you would read the magazines, that information will be outdated. So that a lot of that stuff had been played out anyway. So I remember reading magazines as a kid. A lot of that stuff, by the time it made it to print and circulation, that's something that was done like 2 or 3 months ago. So people didn't have time to, kind of spoil it right when it came out, too. And that's a great point about the Undertaker. He was very, very careful with that character. I remember, back in the day, like he wouldn't even really attend like WWE Hall of Fames or anything. It was a very, very, mystique, and not everybody had access to that, that particular, character. I mean, American Badass and different variations and stuff like that. He would be more accessible and,
Yeah.
things like that. But far as, the actual Undertaker persona, like it was kayfabe. I mean, he was protecting that one, so the landscape has definitely changed, like you said.
Well, John, Mayor McCall, like you can say, I mean, we love classic pro wrestling here. I started 5 years old. It was 1980. I'm 48 years old now. Charlie's in his 40s. John's in his 50s. So, yeah, we've been in it a long time. You talk about territories, right?
We shouldn't do John like that. He looks like he's in his 40s too. I think we're all in our 40s.
No, well, yeah. No.
There we go. Yeah.
My wife would tell you I'm older. I'm getting older. But that's just the gray hair. It's just a number. Anyway, right? Territory. We're Niagara Falls, New York. Like I said, near Buffalo, New York, across from the border, the great country of Canada. We here had WWF, of course. We had NWA Maple Leaf and Mid-Atlantic. We had some AWA, some Florida. But that was back in the day. Now, you can get footage from, Georgia, everywhere. I mean, so we, definitely relate to the great good old days, which we try and keep alive as well as you.
Yeah, if I can, let me say this. I think one of the most interesting things in old school pro wrestling history, you're talking about being that close to Canada. As far as I'm sure there's others, but as far as I remember, Bret Hart is one of the only few people I know, especially in the WWE or WWF at the time, that was a good guy and bad guy at the same time.
Right.
Almost like Jerry Lawler was to us, but it wasn't the same organization. Jerry Lawler was a good guy here. Then you would turn him on WWF, and he was a bad guy. So to explain that to the fans, which it's looking back, it's really unbelievable he was able to pull that off. He talked about WWF being like the evil machine and, Vince McMahon and everything like that. So that's why he went to the WWE and acted the way he did. But when he came back home, he was a fan favorite. But back to Bret Hart, there were some angles where Bret Hart would be in Canada and he would bash the U.S. people and he would get the biggest pop ever, being the hometown hero. But as soon as he would cross over that border, the Americans were like, screw you, Bret Hart. I mean, you're no good. So I thought that was very, very cool where he actually got to simultaneously be a good guy and a bad guy at the same time. That was some cool stuff in my book. So,
and they worked in the WCW days that he was in too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Something I think Shawn Michaels may have attempted, but I don't think it worked as well for him. When he put the Canadian flag up his nose there and all that stuff. I don't know if you remember that, but he was trying to be like the American hero, but he was so cocky. Everybody, back then,
I
kind of
remember
hated
that.
him. But
Absolutely, great point.
Now, Mayor McCall, do you have any? Now, aside from like Jerry Lawler, do you have any personal favorites that from the Memphis territory that you just love to see old footage of, or that you follow or read up on, or anything like that?
Great question. Well, here's my and I'm glad you asked that, because here's my stance and here's what I talk about on my show and I put it on the record. So the greatest professional wrestler to ever grace God's green earth is Jerry the King Lawler. He has everything. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He's been part owner of the companies. He's been a owner, a promoter, a booker. Of course, you've seen him on WWE Raw. He's a great commentator. He's a great artist. I mean, he's done illustrations for Mick Foley's books, various other WWE publications. To me, he just has it all. Yeah. But unfortunately, he is not my favorite wrestler of all time. My favorite wrestler of all time would happen to be Mr. Brian Christopher, the son of Jerry the King Lawler. And a lot of people don't really understand that, because they only see him on the WWE side of things when he was Too Cool with Scotty 2 Hotty, and that wasn't bad. That it didn't suck or anything, but that wasn't true Brian Christopher. Brian Christopher was a top heel in Memphis in the USWA. I mean, Brian was our generation's Jerry Lawler. And if you go back and, watch some of that, Brian was just a more, pumped up, beeped up version with the same mouthpiece. Yeah. I mean, if you watch some of those old interviews, I mean, you can see what I'm talking about. Jerry Lawler, like when you hear Brian Christopher talk, you can just shake your head and be like, what a chip off the old block. That's exactly something, the King would say. So Brian Christopher, RIP Brian Christopher. We joke around on the podcast. I'm the unofficial president of the Brian Christopher fan club. So nice. Brian Christopher, definitely my favorite wrestler. And, like I said before, growing up in this area, I've met Brian several times. Brian was nothing like he was on TV. Brian could get you to hate him. He could push your buttons. He could make every angle believable. But when you saw him in person or met him, he was very, very entertaining, very fun, and really, loved the fans. So, I mean, he's definitely my favorite wrestler of all time. But Jerry the King Lawler, greatest professional wrestler ever walked the face of the earth.
That's
Yeah, a
great.
lot of people would agree with you on that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, and you, to pull, joke around, if you will, we had Nikita Koloff on, and we were talking about, of course, the kayfabe and, some of those angles I asked him about, and he looked at me like, was I serious? Well, you got to buy into it, right? I mean, like the Ric Flair there, Jarrett, it made me hate Jeff Jarrett even more. So I bought into it, right? You got to buy into it.
I remember meeting Jeff Jarrett probably when I was about 8 or 9 years old at the Mid-South Fair. The Mid-South Fair was they on the fairgrounds. It was the same grounds as the Mid-South Coliseum, so they would hold their Mid-South Fair there. And yeah, I remember being about 8 or 9 years old, meeting Jeff Jarrett back when he had the long gold locks, and taking a picture with him. And I see why people like Jeff Jarrett so much. As a young kid, just being around him, very, very humble, very, very nice guy. So I'm sure he was one of those too that, definitely different in real life than he was on screen. Because when you met him, met him in real life. He wasn't anything like he was on real screen, on the big screen. But that Jeff Jarrett can make you hate his ass too, though. He pop you with that guitar real good. And you think about it. So
With the old slap
Jeff was a great.
Yeah. The funny thing about Jerry or Jeff Jarrett is, you say that it's a great point about him. He's a very likable wrestler, and the funny thing is, there was a sports card like exhibition here in Buffalo. This was last year, and they had wrestlers there as well. And Jeff Jarrett was a part of that, and it was so great because it was like this big room, and then every now and then they'd make an announcement: so and so is going to be signing autographs at noon. So and so is going to be signing autographs at 12:30. All of a sudden, Jeff Jarrett gets on the mic. He goes, "Hey, Buffalo, this is Jeff Jarrett. Just want to let you know that go Titans." And it was not a forward pass, and he's talking about the Music City Miracle, and the whole room just starts booing him, and he's just drowning him out on the mic. And he goes, "And by the way, come over and pay me a visit for an autograph," something like that. But he worked the room beautifully. Just out of nowhere, you hear Jeff Jarrett's voice, and just the way he worked the room at a sports card show was great.
Well, he had the greatest teacher of all time. Jerry Jarrett is one of the greatest geniuses this business has ever seen. I mean, it's a testament back to the Memphis territory. I mean, Jerry had a big hand in all those crazy angles. If you look back at the time, like Memphis and all the other territories, Memphis had some of the most outlandish, crazy angles, and the way they were able to keep people invested week to week to week and have those draws at the Coliseum is just, man, it's unfathomable. It's unbelievable. But Jerry Jarrett, I mean, what a creative genius. I mean, he really was. He really was.
Absolutely. Well, John, I know your time is precious this morning, sir. We don't want to keep you too long, but again, we want to thank you for hanging out with us for a good half hour here and talk some old school wrestling. Anytime you want to come back and catch up with us and talk some more old school, we're always open to that. And we'll be listening to your podcast as well. Again, that's Wrestling with Mayor McCall, which can be seen on all platforms.
Wrestling Talk.
Wrestling Talk with Mayor McCall. And where could we can find you on YouTube, Spotify, correct?
I'm on Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can check out Wrestling Talk with Mayor McCall. I'm not yet on YouTube. I'm just actually, thank you for this, guys. This has been a good experience for me. This is my first video experience. I'm straight all audio. I mean, I have a studio. You can see the background. I'm like Chris. I got a cool background. I like your background, man. Falls Count Anywhere. That's cool.
That's the name of the
wrestling. I've got the Wrestling Talk with Mayor McCALL, logo and banner and everything behind me, but we just do straight audio. So, later on, I might try to turn some of those audio files, into YouTube clips or something like that. But, just getting started. So getting my feet wet on the straight audio side. So this was a cool, fun experience. And it was cool to see you guys face to face and talk to you this morning. It's always, where I come from, Saturday morning wrestling was a huge deal. So it was cool to wake up this morning and be excited about something on a Saturday morning. So I appreciate you guys for that.
That's why we do our show. I told you every Saturday morning.
Every Saturday,
your
man.
show was wrestling day, so that's why we do our show here on Saturdays. And I could attest that you mentioned my shout outs, and I was on your Facebook show this past Sunday night. So I mean, it's a great show. Everybody should check it out.
Thank you so much. I was a little nervous. That was my first time going live, and you don't know how the things are going to pan out. But I got a great, warm reception. Obviously, I've got some followers and support, so that got a lot of good feedback. So that was encouraging. Like I mentioned before, I will be shortly. I will be recording Wildfire Tommy Rich. You guys got any good questions or anything? Something I should mention to Tommy Rich or anything?
I've been
like
trying
that?
to get him on this show, and through Mr. Adam Parsons and Rock Parsons. I know they're good friends with Tommy, but he's the tough one to get a hold of. So congrats to you.
And it's funny you said that. I've had some people reach out to me and be like, dude, how did you pull that off? And I still don't know. I mean, Tommy has been my toughest guest to get this far. I mean, and later on, Jerry the King Lawler is actually going to do my podcast. So I'm excited about that.
That's
The
fantastic.
legendary Jackie Fargo.
Awesome.
The legendary Jackie Fargo, often imitated or never duplicated. By the grace of God, probably about 13 years ago, I became good friends with his daughter Charlotte Fargo, and I woke up to a message one day on my messenger and had some screenshots, and she said, "Look what I did for you. The King agreed to do your podcast." So that's very, very cool.
Man.
Excited about that. But I guess my point I was making was, that just kind of fell into my lap, and I'm so blessed and thankful for that. But yes, Wildfire Tommy Rich has been my hardest guest to obtain. He really has. He's just, man, he's busy. He's just a busy dude. I mean, he really is. I mean, I can tell that he wasn't just, blowing me off or putting me off. And actually, like you alluded to earlier, this being Memorial Day weekend, he's actually off this weekend. So he's agreed to, give me about 30 or 45 minutes of his time this morning. So, and I've bugged him too, though. I've texted him every week. I'm like, "Hey, brother, when we gonna do this?" And Tommy's probably about ready to tell the mayor to screw off. But thank goodness Tommy's gonna give me some time this morning. We're gonna have fun and knock it out of the park. So.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. We look forward to that. Yeah, we look forward to that, John. We'll keep an eye out for it. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but if I do, I'll throw you a message on Facebook there if I think of a question.
I've got a big, if you don't mind, if I can plug for a minute, I've got a big release coming this weekend sometime, probably today or tomorrow. I'm going to release. Yeah. I've got a piece called Remembering Lance Russell, the voice of Memphis Wrestling. We just did an awesome interview with his son Shane. So it's definitely one of my favorites so far to hear the stories of Lance and some things you might not know about, and just hear about his pure genius, as the voice of Memphis Wrestling. And Lance was so instrumental in selling some of those angles. I mean, Lance could get even with his mannerisms and everything, he could get the audience, hooked in the palm of his hands. And if he vouched for a guy, you vouch for him too. And if he didn't like somebody, you didn't like him either. So Lance Russell was an awesome dude.
That's right. We agree with that. And we agree with Shane Russell was a great guy and was on this show as well. So
absolutely.
I'm sure that was an interesting experience. Shane is very, very cool. And you can tell how much passion, and you can tell how much Shane loved his dad. And it comes across in these interviews. And Shane is happy to talk about his dad and keep his dad's memory alive. And I think that's fabulous. With that being said, Shane kind of inspired me. After it went so good with him, I've actually reached out to some wrestlers that are no longer with us, reached out to some of their children, and they have agreed to do some stuff with me later on. Hopefully I'm gonna do a Jackie Fargo piece with featuring Charlotte Fargo, and I'm gonna do an Outlaw Don Bass piece featuring his daughter Misty. And
Oh,
you know, if
cool.
you think about it, some of those stories are the best. They're firsthand information, firsthand stories, some stories that you would not necessarily hear anywhere else. I mean, how cool
Right.
is it to hear, you know, a quote from sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner about my dad did this or my dad said that. So that's a firsthand, you know, information piece of wrestling history in my book. So
100%. Yeah, that we love that too, because we've had some sibling or some of the kids of some of the wrestlers on. We're hoping to have Sean Studd, the son of Big John Studd, on the show in a future episode. So yeah, like you said, it's
oh, that would
you
be
get those
very, very
firsthand
cool.
stories. Yeah, can only imagine the stories he had about Big John Studd. So yeah, it's just really great. And it's for us, same thing. You know, John, we three of us got together and decided to do a podcast, and we've been able to build up a pretty solid guest list. And again, man, anytime you want to come back and catch up with us or promote your show or whatever the case, you know, our Falls Count Anywhere Facebook page will be happy to retweet or repost anything you might have on social media. We'll be looking out for that stuff and keeping our
And you
audience
guys don't know how
abreast
much
of it.
that means to me. I'm just a small town dude from, you know, Mississippi, and getting to do stuff like this and reaching the people. You know, at this point, I've been played in many countries in the world, and it's just unbelievable. And it's I'm not anybody special. I just been blessed, and thank y'all so much. It means a lot to have your support and everything like that. And like you guys said, it's a team effort. Podcasters have to stick together. I don't have competition with anybody. I play
Right.
with the big boys. I've been as high as number 68 in the whole country. About a week and a half ago, I was number 89. You know, so I've been rolling with the big boys, and I'm proud to do that by having no sponsors, no ads. I make zero money off of this. I do it for the love and passion. So that, you know, I'm just blessed. And when you put money in something, it becomes a job. So I'm blessed enough to have a real job where I can make some money at. So as far as I'm concerned, this is just a passion, you know, project that I'm doing. So
Absolutely. That's how we feel as well, man. And we appreciate you again, John. And again, welcome back anytime and enjoy the weekend. And we'll look forward to catching up with you again soon, man.
hey, John, Charlie, Chris, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me this morning. And you guys have an awesome Memorial Day weekend, and nothing but love for you guys. And I really appreciate y'all.
Thank you, sir. Same to you. And have a great one, man. Take care. All right, good stuff, man. Mr. John McCALL, Mayor McCALL, if you will, and that's Wrestling Talk with Mayor McCALL podcast. And again, you know, if you can follow him on social media, and also if you're following us on our Facebook page, we'll be sure to keep you updated on any interviews that John might have coming up there on his podcast. And we look forward to that. So, guys, let's check in with our sponsors, and of course, on the other side of it, we're going to have our Chic Tweets, our Jobber of the Week, and our clips as well. So hang with us. We'll be right back.
Digits 988 can save a life. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, 988 provides connection to free confidential support. There is hope. The Lifeline works. For 24/7 confidential support, just call, text, or chat 988.
right, welcome back. Charlie, John, and Chris here with you on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. And again, thank you to John McCALL, Mayor McCALL of the Wrestling Talk with Mayor McCALL podcast. Guys, of course, we have the big pay-per-view. We got pay-per-view weekend, if you will. Both WWE and AEW with some pay-per-views coming up. I forgot last week, but because they're in Saudi Arabia, we're not. They are. They're going to be at 1:00 today on the old Peacock Network, on the cock at 1:00. So make sure you check that out. WWE not Money in the Bank, Night of Champions, which, of course, the big match is going to be crowning of the new World Heavyweight Champion. We're going to see either Seth Rollins or AJ Styles. Very much. Yeah, I can't wait for that match. I'm so looking forward to that. But also, guys, we didn't talk about it last week, but I figured we should talk about it a little bit this week. We have the AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view coming up. That's going to be tomorrow night. And I'll tell you, they have a pretty impressive card here. I'll be honest with you, I haven't kept up every week with AEW, but as I'm kind of combing through the card here, there's some pretty huge matches. First and foremost, what jumped out at me was the world title match. This is going to be a four-way match, which is going to be MJF, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara. All going at it. So that's going to be a hell of a title match. I think MJF has done a great job as the champ. Let me ask you this, though, guys, because I don't know if you guys have run into any of these clips through social media or whatnot, but a lot of times after these shows, for example, the last pay-per-view where MJF was victorious, he does like the post press conference, the post-show press conference. And to me, I feel like there's no place for it in wrestling. But, man, this guy's dropping F-bombs left and right. You know, I'm the fucking man, this and that. And it's just like, dude, take it easy. I mean, you know, there's still an audience. I mean, it's not – AEW is a little bit of a demographic aimed towards us. But there's still kids watching, whatever. How you feel about that or not, I'm not really concerned about that part of it. But I just feel like there's really no place for that in wrestling. You know, I don't think you need to go that low as far as, you know, all the cursing and all that bullshit as I'm cursing, but you know, I just think it's a little much.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, even if you go back to watch the post show with CM Punk next to Tony Khan, even CM Punk didn't swear that much. So yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, wrestling, it's
I don't think you need it. Yeah, I don't think you need it. But anyway, I'll digress from that. But yeah, I think he's been a solid champion otherwise. And somebody mentioned too, and I haven't, unless I'm mistaken here. Oh, he is on the card. Okay. But Bryan Danielson, the way he's been booked in AEW, he is involved in a 4-on-4 match. The Blackpool Combat Club is taking on the Elite. But somebody was saying, I can't remember who, but on social media, somebody involved in wrestling just hates the way that he's been booked. I feel like he should have been champ by now, Bryan Danielson. I mean, he's a phenomenal wrestler. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on the way he's been booked. I think it's been kind of a thumbs down so far.
I totally agree. He should have been AEW champion when he had that title match. I don't know what they're doing there, but I know their big thing is too, which was a great pay-per-view last year. Forbidden Door is coming back. I want to say June 25th. So that probably is going to be awesome, like it was last year, I hope. And they're coming out with AEW, this talk, AEW Collision. It's all over YouTube and social media, and CM Punk coming back, the United Center. I don't know what's going to happen. So
yeah, that should be interesting. Yeah, the whole CM Punk controversy from last year with that fallout and the big brawl that happened backstage. Should be interesting to see what type of reception he gets. Now, it helps that it's going to be in Chicago, his hometown, so I'm sure that'll help cushion the blow, if you will, because anywhere else there might be a mix of some booze in there when he shows back up, which is complete opposite for when he was disappeared for 7 years and the crowd was chanting his name when he wasn't even at an event, you know, because they wanted to see CM Punk because he was so red hot when he left. And now it's just like, man, he's exposing himself as an asshole. And I think now he's starting to maybe think like, you know, maybe some of it's me, because he's been stating that he's willing to work with the guys he got in the brawl with, you know, and all that stuff. So hopefully maybe he learned a lesson from this and it'll come back with a better attitude. But, you know, some of the other matches on this card, though, guys, is pretty good. They have a The AEW World Tag Team titles are going to be defended. FTR is going to be going up against Jay Lethal, and we were talking about Jeff Jarrett. They'll be involved in that, and Mark Briscoe is going to be the special referee for that match, so that should be interesting. Also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Chris Jericho, where do I have it written down here? He has a match coming up. Chris Jericho and Adam Cole have a match coming up, and we did see the reemergence of the legendary Sabu at the last AEW Dynamite. He's going to be the special enforcer for that match. But I thought it was great because you got Taz on the commentary for AEW and Sabu coming down the aisle as a big surprise. Sabu and Taz had some classics in ECW. If you haven't watched the Sabu and Taz match, YouTube it, go to the Wrestling Network, whatever. They had some bloody, awesome matches back in the ECW days where they were just suplexing the hell out of each other, and you know how ECW was. But that should be fun. It was good to see Sabu back.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, it should be. You're as you said, we got a holiday weekend and a wrestling pay-per-view weekend today and tomorrow. So yeah, it should be pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. Like I said, I haven't really kept up a ton with AEW, but this is a fun card that they put together. Christian Cage versus Wardlow for the TNT Championship. We got the women's title, of course. You got Jamie Hayter taking on Toni Storm. Jade Cargill, who we talked about with her undefeated streak. She'll be defending her title, the TBS Championship, against Taya Valkyrie. So, yeah, it's shaping up to be a pretty good card. They also have an AEW International Championship Blackjack Battle Royal. We're going to have a huge Battle Royal for that. So, interesting to see how this is going to go. And again, I'm interested to see Sabu, what his role is going to be in that match, because that should be pretty interesting. And we've got the Hardys are going to be making an appearance at this show along with Hook. What else we got here, guys? And then, yeah, I mean, again, that's going to be tomorrow night. That's May 28th at 8 p.m. So now the one thing I wish AEW would do, and hopefully this is something in the works, Tony Khan loves to make huge announcements, right? I would love to see, and I don't know if they're big enough yet, but an AEW network to where you can subscribe monthly and then just get the pay-per-view included. Because honestly, guys, some of these pay-per-views, I mean, $60. I'm not going to order every one. It gets expensive, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only one to me that was definitely worth it was the Forbidden Door last year. So I'm looking forward to it this year.
Yeah, and the show they want to do at Wembley Stadium should be interesting too to see.
Yes.
They're hoping for 60 to 80,000 to show up to that. I guess they've been having some solid pre-sale tickets. Too bad William Regal is not in AEW for that, because I think that would have been awesome. But there has been some rumors too that Drew McIntyre, who hasn't been on good terms with WWE as far as contract talks, I don't know where that stands at this point, but there's a possibility of him showing up at that event, which I think would be pretty awesome. And then again, it would be on AEW at that point to book him correctly, because I think Drew McIntyre is a main eventer in my book.
Yeah, for sure. I foresee that happening too. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, guys. And then again, we'll recap these shows next week on our show. Again, Night of Champions WWE, which is Afternoon of Champions here in the States at 1 p.m. And of course, AEW Double or Nothing Sunday night at 8 p.m. So we'll again recap those next week. But guys, our show is not whole. It's not complete. It doesn't feel right unless we check in with the Iron Sheik and the weekly Sheik tweets, as we love to do here on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. Now, we did lose a legend in the music business this past week, and it was Miss Tina Turner, no relation. Tina Turner, I love you with all my heart. The song "The Best" is true for you. God bless you forever. I love you. The Iron Sheik giving some love there to the legendary Tina Turner, who passed away at the age of 83. So rest in peace to Tina Turner.
Yes.
You could think of about 10 songs right off the top of your head that you associate with her and her unbelievable talent. So rest in peace to Tina Turner. What else we got there? Oh, I love this because, look, Mondays suck. And a little Monday motivation from the Sheik. His advice: wake the fuck up and suplex somebody. What better Monday motivation than that? I wonder if the Sheik wakes up and just suplex somebody randomly in his household, or maybe camel clutches somebody in the household.
That's great.
I love it. Here we go.
And of course, when the Iron Sheik versus Elon Musk happens, what is the finish? Look, if there is a match between Elon Musk and the Iron Sheik, we know that the finish is going to be a camel clutch applied to Elon Musk, and that jabroni's going to tap out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for
Or
sure.
Musk could try to do the things,
The clubs.
Oh, the clubs, yeah.
just beat the hell out. Yeah.
Your money can't do those. Your money's not going to buy you the ability to do those clubs, jabroni.
Right.
But that would be great. I would love to see that match.
Oh, of course.
And of course, the Hulkster, he's been talking about a retirement match, rumored that he wants to have Stone Cold as his opponent. But it looks like the Sheik picked up on this rumor, and Hulk Hogan retirement match. You owe me big time, jabroni. I break your fucking neck, howdy doody, Hollywood blonde, dumb son of a bitch. Just the combination of words that the Sheik uses there is fantastic. You howdy doody, Hollywood blonde, dumb son of a bitch. And there's a picture of the Hulkster there showing up on the Raw 30 there, Raw 30th anniversary.
I was almost going to say, you beat me to it. I was almost going to say, what's a weekly Sheik tweet without Hogan? And there it was.
There it was, man. So, hey, I'll tell you what, if Hogan has a retirement match, I would love to see it, number one, with the Sheik. But the Sheik, let's face it, he's 81. He's not getting in the ring. And they had a little fun with him at WrestleMania 20 coming down to the ring. It took him like a half hour to get to the ring for that Legends Battle Royal. And he ended up winning because nobody could throw his ass over the top rope. So I don't expect the Sheik to come out of retirement.
Now that his whole thing with, I know what happened in '84 and all that, but he was mad. What did one of our guests say? He was mad that he wasn't invited to a party or something. Remember?
I'm not even sure. Yeah, I don't know. I know that he's mentioned that Hulk Hogan, anytime he's run into him, and said he's going to call him. I love you, Sheik. I'll give you a call. Well, this is a clip I saw on Howard Stern from like 20 years ago. And he never called that jabroni. He don't call Hulk. And he starts going off on Hulk Hogan, So that's where that relationship stands. So
that's probably a combination. You're right, John. From '84, and then you add that.
And that's it. My God.
Good stuff from the Sheik as always. But guys, let's get to our vault of wrestling clips that Chris here provides on a weekly basis. Go ahead and take it away, Chris.
Oh, we got some good ones this week. Of course, as I say each and every week, I do not sell this footage to nobody. It is my own personal footage that I clip out, and we enjoy each week here on the show and also in my personal life, right? This house is wrestling 24/7 since I was 5 years old. So, John, let's roll the first one. In honor of our guest, Mayor John McCALL, in wrestling Memphis territory, here we go, some Memphis footage. Lance Russell, the golden voice of Memphis wrestling.
Yeah. This is good.
Memphis had the first ever scaffold match, guys.
For $5,000.
And at that point, look at it, kind of was just like not a very big or wide scaffold up there.
No.
That's like a plank, yeah.
I figured you guys would like this. Look at this. You know that voice, don't you?
Oh, man, that's not Black Bart, is it?
Nope, but you're going to see the name, and you know that voice. I know you do.
Yeah. Is that Honky Tonk Man?
Oh, man. Is that Honky Tonk?
Yep, Wayne Ferris, a.k.a. Honky Tonk.
Honky Tonk Man.
Wow, man, I've never seen that.
Cool.
That was great.
As we know him, Coco Beware, but he started his career as Coco Ware here.
Coco Ware.
And they shook hands, and there they go.
Sounds like a line of Tupperware or something. Yeah, Coco the Bees definitely helped.
Of course, we know Robin and John were all big fans of the King Jerry Lawler too, but look at this. Andy Kaufman and Jimmy Hart versus the King at one time.
Nice.
And of course, we know Lawler just about wrestled everybody, and here he is quickly against Jesse the Body Ventura. And then here he is against another legend, great champion, Ken Patera.
Oh, yeah, Ken Patera.
Oh,
And of course, as John said, all these matches took place on the Mid-South Coliseum there in Memphis, Tennessee.
So cool.
Well, and and Mayor McCall there, John McCall, mentioning that he's expecting to have Jerry Lawler on his show coming up. So, if that does happen, we'll definitely make our fans aware of it. So I'll be looking forward to that as well.
Me too.
That'd be awesome to see.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let me roll. Hold on.
Here we go, guys. This is black and white footage from the Australian WCW territory, and but we're featuring the masked spoiler. Real name Don Jardine.
Oh,
But a great masked wrestler, the spoiler.
yeah.
Many territories.
Oh, Wahoo McDaniel.
There he is against, yes, Wahoo McDaniel from the Houston territory.
The spoiler. Who is that again? John?
Real name Don Jardine. Here he is. Imagine this match, John, against Ox Baker.
Wow. Look at. At first, I wasn't sure because it's kind of hard to see. I thought it was George Steele for a minute. No, it's
I can understand
Right, yeah, I thought that too. Yeah.
from the back there, but
Man,
man, look at this match, right?
this is great. Look at that.
I actually got to go back and watch this one. It's probably a classic right here between the two great masked wrestlers. As we know, the spoiler against our Buffalo's own, the intelligent, sensational Super Destroyer.
Awesome.
And this one, too, I wish
Wow.
they shown the whole match of this one. These two legends going at it. The Masked Superstar, of course, one of my favorites.
Yes. Oh. I like double chops. That's good.
Yeah, the masked wrestler, guys, it doesn't really exist much anymore. Like Rey Mysterio, because of the Lucha
Yeah.
Libre tradition, still wears one. But other than that,
There's
Oh,
one
wow.
in NWA, is Scion. Is the only
very good.
mask and that I know of.
That should be made a little bit more common these days. I think that should be brought back. I'd love to see. That's an aspect of wrestling that we really don't see anymore.
Definitely.
And we got one more.
Yep.
Here we go, guys. Basically footage from the Portland territory, Portland Wrestling. That one here is Playboy Buddy Rose. I guess it was breaking the arm of Indian J. Youngblood there.
Oh,
Oh man. Oh, he's ready to beat him with his
And
boot.
here's a rare one, guys. Buddy Rose lit the kilt of Roddy Piper's on fire.
oh,
Oh man.
And here comes Piper trying to put it out.
oh! He almost
No.
catches fire.
No confirmation if this is where the term hot rod came from, but holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, of course,
Look
here
at
we are, right? Mr.
Where
Perfect.
did that referee get that shirt?
Yeah, that's,
Seriously.
That was Kurt Hennig against Buddy Rose.
that might have been Ernie from Ernie and Bert.
I think he went to Hills and got that thing. Holy
Here
cow.
we are, a tag team match. Of course, Ric Flair and Rip Oliver
Oh,
taking on Billy Jack Haynes and the Hot Rod.
Nice.
wow! What a team! What a match this is! Holy cow.
And here we go. This is supposedly Dynamite Kid here with this pile driver breaks the neck of Kurt Hennig.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Now, I don't know if that was true or not, but another devastating event.
Wow. And the pile driver has been kind of outlawed. I know it's been outlawed in WWE. AEW, I believe, still uses it, but that traditional pile driver really is not used much anymore. I mean, you saw what happened to Stone Cold, right, with Owen Hart. He almost cost him his career. So makes you wonder if the pile driver was just so dangerous back then. He said broke the neck of Kurt Hennig. That's crazy.
Yeah, whether that was true or not, but we know what happened to Stone Cold was definitely true.
Absolutely, yeah. Scary stuff there. Good, but good clips as always, Chris. I mean, some stuff
Yeah.
I've never seen before. But man, those those referees back in the day, man, it's like they told those guys, like, hey, man, anything with stripes on it, just wear that, and then we'll make you the referee for the match. So you went to the county seat and bought that thing. But yeah, good clips as always, Chris. Very appreciative of the wrestling vault that you provide each and every week. So thank you for that. Guys, of course, we want to check in with our jobber of the week, as we like to do every week here on the Falls Anywhere podcast. And this week it is Jay Sledge. I did find a match of his against Adam Baum on YouTube, but it was so fuzzy, the quality kind of sucked. So like any screenshot that I tried to take was just a complete mess. But he did get his ass whipped by Adam Baum that match. No suspense there, or no spoiler, right? But Jay Sledge here, he wrestled only 7 career matches from 1992 to 1993. A couple of his notable losses, if you will. One of our former guests, the Mountie. He did lose to in a Superstars taping. So shout out to the Mountie, Mr. Jacques Rougeau. Also did some battling with the Islanders there, and some others as well. But Jay Sledge, again, 0-7 record from 1992 to 1993, and some notable matches there, and then a brief run as a jobber there. 7 matches. I don't know, what does that get you guys? Maybe 150, $200 total, or however much money they made back then.
Yeah, I wonder, man. It's got to be just living out his dream or something. I don't know, because it doesn't seem to be. It don't make sense why you're doing it.
I wonder too. It makes you wonder, like back in the day, like maybe if you're just a big guy and you're known locally, and maybe it never worked out for you, but the area knows about you, and WWF is coming to town, and hey, give Jay Sledge a call. He could do it. He could wrestle a few matches for you. It makes you wonder how they recruited some of these guys. Some of them are in great shape, as if they were in the wrestling business. Others were, just regular everyday jabronis. You know what I mean? So it makes you wonder where they find these guys and how much they pay them to take the sacrifice for the big talent.
Someday we're going to be able to find someone who will answer that question. Like, it's really, I can't imagine the beating that they take to have a couple. I don't know, what could they pay him? $50 for an ass. I mean, a whipping sometimes, but
and you get maybe something to eat when the show's over. Yeah. That's about it, though.
Wow. Yeah, we definitely want to know some history on that someday. So hopefully we will.
Yeah, we will.
Absolutely, man. And guys, as we wrap up here, and we always want to give some public information out to the public. We are a show of the people. If I'm jumping the gun here, but we can do this now.
Right. We go ahead with that public information first, John.
Yeah, and then we'll come back to where you can catch us. But yeah, go ahead, John.
All right. Mental health, 844-794-3812. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for you. If you have, PTSD, anxieties, depression, just feel like you don't want to do anything anymore. We all get that, and we all feel that way sometimes. So don't be afraid to call these people, because it's anonymous. No one's going to know. Nothing's going to happen. You just talk to them. They'll be there and talk to you. Yeah, they'll talk for hours with you if you need them. And they're professional, and they're standing by waiting for you. They're there on Memorial Day. They'll be there on Christmas. So if you need them, 844-794-3812. Don't feel bad, because we all have mental health issues that we need to take care of.
I believe this is Mental Health Awareness Month, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're happy to get that information out. Absolutely. Thanks, John.
Yes. Well, and of course, wrapping up here, we'd like to thank, of course, our viewers on all across our platforms. Here, our home on Facebook each and every week, and of course on Twitter. We are at Count Anywhere. I know the Twitter is growing. I'm on Twitter once a day, talking to all kinds of people, and more getting it out there and retweeting it. So that's great there. Of course, we're on Spotify as well, as Mayor McCALL said. Notice that. I'd like to see us on that Spotify list. Hopefully someday we can check in that. And of course, our YouTube channel. We're up to 45 friends with the Z There Media Network. You can check not just our show here, but all. And the sports show is getting big, and Friends Media Network, we're at 45. We need to get to 1,000, I believe. But
we have ways to go. Yeah.
And John, tell us about a Facebook Star program.
Yeah, as you're watching us tonight, and you see it'll pop up in the message board. It's stars. It's 99 cents, gives us 100 stars. The stars that we accumulate, eventually we'll have opportunity for advertising through Facebook. So if you, for 99 cents, throw us some stars, we'll take that dollar and throw it back into our show, programming, whatever we can do with it. But for sure, we want the stars, because if we get enough, then we get into another kind of echelon on Facebook. So please, 99 cents, and give us some stars. And thank you,
Yeah,
for
you know,
those that
guys.
did already.
Yeah, and you know, guys, on our Facebook page, it kind of sent you this on our chat on Facebook, but it gives you stats of what countries are watching the show, and even Pakistan checked in for the show, which was kind of cool. I was like, wow, Pakistan. We had Germany on there, Italy. So it wasn't a ton, but it was a little bit, and I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. So we're reaching out all over the world in some cases, and I'm wondering what somebody in Pakistan thinks of three jabronis like us doing a wrestling show. It's interesting to see those stats. But guys, as we do wrap up here again, Memorial Day weekend, enjoy it. It's a long weekend. And again, you know, the ultimate sacrifice that the soldiers in this country paid, the ultimate sacrifice for us to live the way we live every day in this country, in a free, wonderful country that it is. Just keep those individuals in mind as they paid the ultimate sacrifice for us on this Memorial Day weekend. And then go ahead and wear white on Tuesday, right? Isn't that how it works?
Oh, yeah.
You can wear white or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, we'll have like a fashion show maybe one of these days. But of course, guys, we'll be back next week to wrap up the pay-per-view weekend, AEW, WWE. We'll be talking about that and going forward from there, guys. So again, enjoy the cooking out, enjoy the weekend, and thanks for joining us, everybody. You guys take care.
Yes, thank you.